War Games is right around the corner, and I gotta be real with all of you. The card is stacked, and though we didn't have the biggest build in the world to War Games, the show should be fantastic, and there's so many things to be excited about. Because this year, it really does feel like this War Games is where we kickstart the road to WrestleMania. I know, generally speaking, we start the road to WrestleMania at the Royal Rumble, but here, I think we get a lot of teases about WrestleMania 41. Just with all the different personalities in both of the men's and women's War Games matches, I think we start to get little teases as to what WrestleMania could look like, whether there's some heel turns or a big time angle that begins inside of the War Games match. It is going to be a must-see show in my opinion. And it actually feels like WWE is almost hitting a mini reset button on all the stories that they have going on. It's like War Games is the culmination of everything that has been happening up until this point this year, and they say, hey, we're gonna do new stuff now going into the new year. It's certainly an exciting time, but before every WWE PLE, I sit down right here and I give my predictions on the show, and generally speaking, I'm kind of hit and miss, okay? My predictions as of late have not been that fantastic. Yeah, I was the guy who thought that Kevin Owens was going to be on Team Bloodline 2.0 and Cody Rhodes was going to be on the Bloodline OG's team inside of War Games, and I promised a dude my left nut if I was wrong, so I guess I'm one nut con now. But regardless, it's always fun to predict, so I'm gonna give mine right here, right now. But before we get into this thing, make sure you leave a like on this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on those notifications, and keep coming back every single day right here because we upload wrestling videos every single day. Oh yeah, and this video might be a little more bare bones with the edits. I gave my editor Jay, the day off for American Thanksgiving, so happy Thanksgiving to all you Americans watching today. You know, just good guy con giving his employees some time off at the holidays. You know, I'm a good boss. But with that being said, let's take a look at my predictions. So I'm also going to give my predictions as to how I think the card is going to come together, and I think the first match we get on the night is going to be Team Liv versus Team Rhea in War Games. Now honestly, this match is stacked. Just listen to the talent involved in this one. Liv Morgan, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, Raquel Rodriguez, and Candice LeRae on one team, and then Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, Bayley, Io Sky, and Naomi on the other. That is a whole whack of talent. Like, we might actually see the greatest women's War Games match of all time with this type of talent in the ring. Everybody has a different dynamic, and there's also some mystery going into this matchup. The biggest mystery being who attacked Jade Cargill, who put her through the windshield, and there's a whole whack of suspects on both the babyface and heel teams. Like, we could say it might be Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez who attacked her, because let's face it, they have a history of attacking people in parking lots like they did to Rhea Ripley, but there's also the possibility that it was somebody from her own team, maybe her own tag team partner in Bianca Belair. There's also somebody else who benefited from Jade Cargill going through the windshield, and that is Bayley, who is now on this women's War Games team. Do you think maybe Bayley was the one who put her through the windshield? Or what about even somebody like Naomi, somebody who is looking to capture a little more spotlight, who has been positioned alongside of Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, calling themselves the Big Three while they're holding on to titles and Naomi doesn't have any gold. Is she starting to get jealous of the newcomer in Jade? And do any of these questions rear their ugly head inside of War Games? Do we actually get a heel turn? Do we get the reveal of who attacked Jade Cargill? There's so many things that could potentially happen, but I honestly think we might be going down the direction of an old women's War Games match. And there was a moment inside of War Games where we saw Dakota Kai turn her back on her longtime friend in Tegan Nox, taking her out of the match, completely rendering her useless, and making the match now officially 4-on-2. I wonder if we get some sort of rendition on that, if we get like a 5-on-3 matchup. Let's say Naomi takes out Bianca Belair here, and it's revealed that it was Naomi the entire time who took out Jade Cargill, and then she takes out Bianca Belair as well. Or maybe Bayley turns on Naomi inside of this match and takes out Naomi for good, and then we're down to Bianca, Rhea, and Io. There's a bunch of different directions we could go. But in the end, I think regardless of whatever happens here, I think we need to have the women's team with Liv Morgan, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton on it win. Okay, we're talking about the women's world champion and the women's WWE champion and Miss Money in the Bank all on the same team. How are we going to have them lose? It just doesn't seem feasible to see both champions lose inside a match like this. Yeah, I get it. They're not necessarily the best of friends, and they don't necessarily see eye to eye. But at the end of the day, like, they should win this match. It's Miss Money in the Bank, Women's World Champion, and WWE Champion. Like, how are they going to lose? Now, the only thing that concerns me is there is one person on this team of champions who really doesn't seem to fit in as much, and she's only really there because, well, I shouldn't say only because she's a great talent. Okay, Candice LeRae is freaking awesome, but in terms of like the star power, the rest of everybody in this match, she's just not quite on that level, it feels, and so she might be there to take the pinfall. And if that's the case, man, then the baby faces overcoming the heels would be a little bit of a bonehead scratching move. Head scratching move. God, English isn't working for me today. I'm definitely intrigued to see though what the result of this match is going to be and how we advance forward towards the Royal Rumble, Elimination Chamber, WrestleMania. Like, there's a lot of things that are going to come out of this matchup, and I would be really surprised as well if we see a Money in the Bank cash in, although it is definitely a possibility with both champions in there. I wonder if it's going to be teased at some point. It would also be a wild swerve if for some reason Tiffany Stratton did actually cash in the Money in the Bank contract right in the middle of the match and then took the title and split while the War Games match continued after that. I don't even know how that could absolutely work. Like, what do the rules of a match like that look like? Does everybody just have to go off to the sides and then all of a sudden it would be Tiffany Stratton and Nia Jax one-on-one in the ring, and then everybody splits, and then once that match is finished they come back in? I don't know how it would work, but I'm kind of here for it. But yeah, rambling aside, I do believe that we are going to see Liv Morgan, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, Raquel Rodriguez, and Candice LeRae walk out with the win. But now on to LA Knight, versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the United States Championship. Dude, Nakamura looks so good right now. He actually resembles like a Sith Lord in the making. It's really, really cool. Reminded me big time of like a cross between Darth Maul and Anakin Skywalker of some sort. I love the look right now, and I love everything that Nakamura brings to the table. It's been a tough run for him in WWE, as there's never really been a moment where WWE said, yeah, you're our guy, we're 100% getting behind you. He had stop and start pushes through the years. Yes, he's won championships, but like, he's never been the man. I think we might actually start to see the rise of the biggest push of Nakamura's career in WWE. And yeah, I know he's won the Royal Rumble before, and I know he's had a big spot at WrestleMania for the WWE Championship, but I think that this current rendition of his character could go on to have a long run with the United States Championship. Definitely 3 to 4 months at least before maybe somebody takes it off him in the future. And I hate to be kind of betting against LA Knight right now as well, as I believe LA Knight brings a lot to the table, but we have to admit, a year ago he was certainly a lot hotter of an act than he is right now. And I don't know if that's just because he's not the flavor of the month anymore and people have moved on to other things since then, but he's still incredibly over. He gets one of the biggest reactions every single show, and he still is one of the best mic workers WWE has. Very entertaining, but I think they could use him up the card a little bit more. Like, I have to believe that LA Knight is not going to remain a mid-carder for the rest of his career. I don't think after losing the United States title, he's just going to drop further down the card. Like, fans are still going to be behind him. They're still going to react to him every time he's out there on the show. So why not try moving him up the card? Hell, I would even be okay with LA Knight moving up the card in like a tag team style role. Like, if he was partnered with somebody, I don't even have a name right now, I'm just literally saying this off the top of my head, but if they put him alongside of somebody else and they had a great dynamic, it could make a main eventer out of LA Knight. Good God, can Conman speak English today? But it could make a main eventer out of LA Knight, and I think everybody wants to see LA Knight around the World Heavyweight Championship or the WWE Championship. I don't think anybody would be against it at all if LA Knight even got a match against Cody Rhodes for the WWE Undisputed Championship on a Friday night episode of SmackDown. I just don't think anybody would complain at all at that. And with there being lots of rumors that Monday Night Raw wants a lot of the top stars from SmackDown because Netflix has requested it, I bet you LA Knight could thrive over on Monday Night Raw going up against the World Heavyweight Champion in Gunther. Hell, I think that would be a great match lots of people would want to see. And even if it wasn't a one-on-one match, LA Knight going inside of the Elimination Chamber fighting for the World Heavyweight Championship, if if that's the direction WWE goes in, would also be a great use of him. I guess you could say the same thing about him staying on SmackDown. He could compete inside the Elimination Chamber for the WWE Championship and nobody would bat an eye. So that tells me LA Knight is ready to move up out of the mid-card. He's proven himself. It has been done. He has finally shown that he is a guy who is meant to be a top-tier entertainer in the world of wrestling. So give him a chance, move him up the card. But also, in the meantime, let's see what Nakamura has as the United States champion, because I think we could get some great matches out of him before maybe we call up, say, I don't know, Obafemi. But with only 5 matches on the card, there's really not a lot of room for breaks or breathers or anything like that. So we're going right from the United States Championship match right into the Intercontinental Championship match, as Braun Breaker is set to defend his IC title against both Sheamus and Ludwig Kaiser. Now, this has been a fun feud. It's all kind of been centered around people facing Braun Breaker and trying to take that IC title away from him. We know Sheamus was out trying to capture that title a little bit ago before Ludwig Kaiser broke up the match. We know that Ludwig Kaiser and Sheamus also have lots of history dating back to like a couple months ago, and Braun Breaker has just been out here spearing fools for about the better part of this year. But it was made official on Monday Night Raw as the 3 brawled at ringside throughout the entire commercial break, going through until the other side, and then Adam Pearce came out after having a big old stiff drink and said it's official. At Survivor Series, we got a 3-way match. Now, I think that this potentially could be match of the night with the amount of talent in there and the dynamic of 3 individuals, with them rolling outside of the ring and coming back in and hitting big moves while the other person isn't paying attention. I love the dynamic, and the out of nowhere spots that we could see from Sheamus, Braun Breaker, and Ludwig could be amazing. They all have great out of nowhere moves. And again, I love seeing the Intercontinental Championship being positioned in this way where it's like the stepping stone championship to bigger and better things in the future. Like, we know Braun Breaker is without a doubt a future world champion. It's just a matter of time. But the fact that he's being highlighted like this on pay-per-views is great to see. Now, I wonder though if they might take the title off him here. Like, in my opinion, I think somebody in the mid-card is losing their championship. So if it's not LA Knight, I wonder if it's Braun Breaker. Like, part of me wonders if they would actually have Sheamus win the Intercontinental Championship in a 3-way match to finally win that title that he's never won, that he's been hunting for the better part of 2 years. But here's the thing, that feels like more of a WrestleMania moment than it does a Survivor Series Wargames moment. And yeah, I understand that in order to make the event feel like a big deal, you have to have big moments happen at the event, but it still feels like we're building up to something massive for Sheamus after year trying to capture that IC title. I don't think it's deserving in just a triple threat match. He should have his moment. It should be in a one-on-one scenario, and it should be at WrestleMania. Ludwig Kaiser could also potentially walk out as champion. He's one of the younger stars on the main roster, and WWE clearly sees him as a top-tier star of the future. They wouldn't give him the mic time. They wouldn't give him the on-screen time if they didn't see that in him. And truth be told, he is fantastic, and I can totally see him being a top-tier heel in about a couple years. So maybe they want to kickstart that build right there and put the title on Ludwig Kaiser, and I don't think anybody would be against that idea of seeing him hold on to the title, winning the title that Gunther lost not that long ago. And also, Gunther is starting to go on a downward spiral, and maybe if that leads to him losing the World Heavyweight Championship, there's a natural story there with Ludwig and Gunther. Like, you can kind of see where WWE could go with that. But because this is a prediction video, I have to officially predict something, and I think Braun Breaker's going to retain the Intercontinental Championship. I just don't know what the goal could be for Braun Breaker, unless the goal is to literally move him up to the main event scene for the Royal Rumble and taking on Gunther at the Rumble. Well, we did kind of already see Braun Breaker and Gunther have a moment backstage together. They teased at something in the future, so maybe that's the direction we're going in now. I'm okay with any one of these men winning this title, to be perfectly honest, but I do think Braun Breaker retains. And now it's time for the main event, or at least what I think is going to be the main event, and I would be incredibly shocked if it wasn't the main event. It's Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, and Sami Zayn taking on Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, Bronson Reed, Tama Tonga, and Tonga Loa inside of Wargames. And let's start off by talking about who was revealed to be the 5th man. CM Punk shows up last week on Friday Night SmackDown alongside of Paul Heyman, and it is now announced that he is in Wargames. Like, what? CM Punk and Roman Reigns teaming together. The OG Bloodline teaming with the OG Paul Heyman guy? Crazy. And you add in the little details of Paul Heyman looking like he was dressed like Solo Sikoa with the red shirt and the black suit jacket. You add in Sami Zayn, who was seen throwing his phone or a TV remote or something like that on a couch. You add in Jimmy Uso winking to Paul Heyman as Paul Heyman nods to him on Friday Night SmackDown. You wonder if there's something going on with the Bloodline and Seth Rollins still. Like, does Seth Rollins get involved in this matchup? Does he cost Roman Reigns this match? Does he get mad at CM Punk because Seth Rollins can't stand CM Punk to begin with, and it's Punk who helps Roman Reigns get back into quote-unquote power? There's so many different directions to go with this story, and that's why I said at the start of the show that I think this is the ending of all the stories we've seen till now, and it's just the next chapter and the beginning of Road to WrestleMania. There's so many things that are going to take shape right there at Survivor Series War Games, and we haven't even talked about the possibility of The Rock showing up at the end. It's kind of insane to say. I'm excited for the War Games match, but I'm more so excited for the story around all the characters than I am for the actual matchup. Like, I'm excited to see who's going to enter first, who's going to enter second, who's going to enter every step of the way. Is there a swerve? Who wins this thing? Does The Rock return? Like, so many things outside of the match that I'm worried about. I'm not actually focused on what's going inside the ring. Now, if I look at this from an objective storyline standpoint with how I think the rest of the show is going to be booked, I believe the women's War Games match is going to go to the heel team, right? So I think this one is gonna go to the baby faces. I think Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, and Sami Zayn all being on one team together is very difficult for them to lose. And yeah, I know they're not united like the new Bloodline. Yeah, I know that they're not like on the same page and all that, but I think you have to end it with two of your biggest stars in Roman Reigns and CM Punk standing tall. It'd be like saying last year that Cody Rhodes' team should have lost to the Judgment Day just because the Judgment Day was a faction. It's like there was no need for it at that time, and there's no need for it this year either. The baby faces should stand tall, but I also think we're going to see some crazy spots from both Jacob Fatu and Bronson Reed in this matchup. Like, I hope, and this is me just thinking outside the box, but what I hope we get during this matchup, at one point, we get Bronson Reed on one side of the ring, like on the left side, let's say, or the right side, or whatever side, I don't care, whichever side he wants to go to. And then on the other side of the ring, we have Jacob Fatu on the very top of the cage. And if you have two people down on tables in the ring, can you imagine the moment if Jacob Fatu hit a moonsault at the same time that Bronson Reed hit a tsunami through the tables in unison at the exact same time? Holy crap, talk about an all-time moment. Like, I don't fully expect a ton of high spots in this matchup. I expect the women's match to have a lot more crazy spots than this one. But if there's one spot that I need to see, it's gotta be either Jacob Fatu hitting a moonsault off the top of the cage, or more than likely, Bronson Reed hitting a tsunami off the top of the cage. Like, that one right there, I need to see that tsunami. Now, the only way I would say that the new Bloodline could actually walk out with the win here is if one of two people interfere in this matchup. One, if Seth Rollins gets involved and costs either Roman Reigns or CM Punk the match. That could definitely lead to a further match in the future between those two, and it could be your out to give the new Bloodline the win. Or you could have The Rock show up and absolutely wreak havoc, go inside that ring with maybe, I don't know, the Mama Rhodes belt if he really wants to, if they want to lean into that, and just start smacking everybody in the ring, and he still has a message for Cody. That seems less likely, although it does seem possible that we see The Rock at the end of the show as well. So, like, I don't know. I actually don't really know what's going to happen going into this thing, and I like that because for the last few pay-per-views, it's felt like we do have an idea as to what the main event is going to look like and what direction we're going in, and this time, I don't actually know, which is great. Although granted, I'm sitting here saying that I actually knew the previous times and most of my predictions were wrong, so what do I know? But the story coming out of this main event, I think, is going to be the biggest story of the night, regardless what happens throughout the evening, regardless if there's like a 5-star match earlier on or anything. Whatever story comes out of this main event is going to be the main story in WWE for the next 6 months. So we better get used to it. We better be excited for it, because Wargames is here and the start to the road of WrestleMania is essentially here as well. But let me know your predictions down in the comments, and also while you're down there, make sure you leave a like on this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on those notifications, and also while you're down in those comments, if you would leave like a bold theory or a prediction or something like that with what's going to happen tomorrow. Be out there, be outside of the box, because my podcast tomorrow, Conversations, is going to be talking about these wild fan theories that are out there. All right, so thanks for watching. Submit all those that you got down in the comments, and we'll see you very, very soon for Wargames.